Hey guys, Dan Solomon here over at digitalmuscle.com. As nearly everyone knows by now, the bodybuilding world recently suffered a terrible loss. Word circulated on the morning of August 22nd that Dallas McCarver, one of bodybuilding's brightest young stars, had died. And when I say young, we're talking about a young man of only 26 years old. Now, bodybuilding fans will, without question, talk about the massive physique that helped turn Dallas into a superstar, already with a couple pro titles to his credit, and that runner-up finish earlier this year at the Arnold Classic. However, Dallas's legacy will no doubt be far greater than anything he accomplished on stage. It'll be for his kindness, his humility, and the fact that he was adored by his family and his many, many friends. Now, as many of you know, our PBW Bodybuilding Radio show returned to the airwaves a few weeks ago, a show that is now co-hosted by Eric Brozer and Dave Bourlet out of Venice Beach, California. And as it turns out, Eric and Dave recorded an interview with Dallas and his trainer, Matt Jansen, on Friday afternoon, an interview that focused on the unique and very personal relationship between Dallas and Matt, who also happened to be Dallas's best friend. Little did they know, but this would turn out to be his final interview, because only 3 days later, Dallas's life would end. At first, we weren't sure really what to do with this interview. We reached out to Matt Jansen, and he gave us his blessing and his encouragement to share this with you guys here. So with that said, it's with an incredibly heavy heart that we share Dallas McCarver's final interview, recorded just 72 hours before his passing.
It's great that you guys are back together again, working together again. I know you're very close. Putting aside the fact that you guys are close, you're friends, you're like brothers. As a coach, what makes Matt like the perfect coach for you? What is it about Matt that makes him so special?
There's a lot of ways I can answer that, but I think the easiest way for me is like it's really simple when I think about like Matt. All the bodybuilding stuff, and I genuinely believe like all the bodybuilding stuff between me and Matt comes second to a lot. I don't. If I text Matt or I call Matt, it's odds are we're gonna talk about like football or sports or something. I mean, we just I don't know. He's just he's my best friend, and we just have a good time doing it. And Matt's taking the time where like. I'm not a easy person to really like get along with sometimes, especially in and during prep and stuff. And Matt's just taking the time where he just gets me as a person. Like he knows when I'm in the gym. Like I don't have to talk. Like he can tell. I swear, guys. Like we trained the other day and we trained quads. And we were like an hour and 15 minutes into the workout, and I realized like not one full sentence had even been said. It's like that's the kind of like in sync you need with somebody when you're trying to do something like this.
Well, I'm glad you said that about your relationship, Dallas, because it is obvious to me since the very beginning that what you guys seem to have is again what I feel I have had with Jays all these years, and it's great to see from the outside because it just makes you that much better as a coach, that much better as a bodybuilder. I think if you really trust each other and love each other and would do anything for one another, which brings me to the whole breakup thing. So once we found out online that you two are no longer working together, there wasn't really a reason for it. I never really saw one written. I didn't look into it, but I remember picking up the phone and texting Matt and said, "Man, I'm really, really sorry. You must be taking this really hard," because it would be, again, for me to not talk to Jay anymore, not see him, or not, I don't know, just like a breakup, and I didn't really understand the reason behind it, and but I respected obviously your choice, Alice. I figured, well, you had your reasons, and I was hoping for the best, because I was friends with the both of you. I mean, so can you talk to me a little bit about the reason why you guys no longer work together? Or what was the idea behind it, without any negative connotation?
Yeah, of course. As Matt said, nobody is harder or a bigger critic of me than I am myself.
Right.
And I was to the point where, there were a lot of things where I was getting impatient because I just wasn't I mean, I don't know, just a 25-year-old kid that wants everything like tomorrow. I mean, so it just is what it is, and so one thing led to another, and then that's what I did, and it went okay. It's one of those like grass is always greener on the other side type thing,
Yeah.
Like I was like, man, like Chad really knows his stuff, and like he's worked with all these people, and like he does. Like I'm not saying he doesn't, but at the same time, it's like what I realized real quick was like the price for or not the price, but like the value of knowing your quote unquote stuff, and the value of knowing like me as a person and me as an individual is two completely different things, especially with me.
Wow.
And so yeah, it just it went how it went with Chad, and like I said, me and Chad are still good friends, and like we still talk, and I feel like I always have an open line to reach out to Chad and Kim. I mean, hell, I'm going to guest post Chad's show not too long from now. But it's just one of those things where it's like after Australia and everything went down, I just realized like everything in my life, especially the way Australia went, like that sucked.
Yeah.
And the only person after Australia that I really wanted to talk to was Matt. And it's kind of funny like how fate would have it. Like Matt called me on the phone like as soon as I got back to my room, and we talked for like a really long time. That's the first time we even talked since everything went down.
Yeah.
It was like the night after Australia, and we talked for like hours. And at first we just agreed that we were gonna like, just go back into like, being friends and stuff, which is fucking great by me. Like I said, I just wanted my friend back. And I even told him, I was like, I don't really like want your help. I don't think the way everything went down, like I don't think it's really worth it for you to talk to me. And of course, like he's not gonna take that answer just because of the type of person he is. And so we forgot, and here we are.
What a great,
a lot of shit in between there, but
what a great story, man.
That's summary.
I'm so glad you told that, Matt. I'm sure you want to say something to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when things happened, one of the things that I'm always going to do is look and see what I could have done better and really kind of dissect myself. And because Dallas and I are such good friends, there was times last year where I let our friendship take over the role of me being a leader towards his success. And that can't happen again. When shots need to be called, when things need to happen for him to make the right steps towards looking his best, I can't let the emotion of us being friends and me wanting, it's hard because when you're close to somebody like we are and we stay together a lot, if you see somebody like hurting and suffering, like that's hard, but at the same time, if he hurts and suffers and then we get the result that we want, it's going to definitely be worth it in the end. So that was one of the biggest things I think that I personally kind of ate myself up about, was the fact that I let that get in the way sometimes. And that was what, I told myself then, like if we ever get the opportunity to work together again, I need to be that person that Dallas looks up to me to be in those times and make the calls that are the right calls and not emotional based calls. And that is, that's one of the things that I kind of, internally took and I think I've matured in that way. Obviously right now, that's not a very big role in what we're doing because it's more so just, off season training and having fun. But when it comes time to prep, like I need to, if I need to be that person that's firm, like I'm going to be firm. So that's something that, I took from that. I learned from that. But also like Dallas said, and I'll just be honest, like I thought that seeing Dallas at the Arnold, and maybe seeing him a little off or not do as well as what I thought he could have done. Like I thought that would have kind of aided in the healing process for me, of our relationship, but actually it was the exact opposite. Like when I saw him, and it's like I wanted him to win, but I didn't want him to win. And then when he didn't win, I got pissed off.
Yeah, I get it.
Because like I just wanted him to win, regardless of whether we were together or not. At the end of the day, I still cared a lot about him, and when he didn't win, I was just upset.
Yeah.
So, and I actually told him that. Actually, before we talked on the phone, after he was in New Zealand, and I knew that he was by himself, I sent him this message, and I was like, hey, man, like, I think there's a few things that you can do to help make yourself better so you win this next show. And, I basically just told him, like, what we'd always did that worked really well for him. When things weren't foggy, when emotion wasn't in the way, like the things that, for absolute fact, worked. So I sent him a message, and he thanked me for sending it. And then we didn't speak for, until after the show. But, as soon as I found out that what happened on stage, anything that had to do with anything negative in the last 3 months or 4 months, however long it was, like, it just went out the window. Yeah. And somebody that I cared very, very much about just went through a very tragic thing. And he was in a country where he knew nobody, outside of the competitors on stage. Yeah. And at that point, I didn't care anything about just talking to him, so that's kind of, like Dallas said, that's how we started back. And we stayed on the phone for a long time. He cried, I cried, and, we just got over, not got over, but we just kind of
passed it. Yeah.
Passed it. Yeah, absolutely. So.
Wow. What a story. And you know what, man, I'm so glad that you guys are back together, because obviously this friendship means a whole lot more than any bodybuilding trophy or titles. It's real, obviously. And Dallas,
honestly, like, one of the biggest signs for me that is like what you just said. Like, even after I got back from Australia, like, I was in contact with Matt, and like I had heard from Chad a few times, and like Chad sent me a text one day, and he was like, "Man, honestly," he was like, he's like, "It's clear, like, you're not loving this like you used to. Like, you need to move back to Tennessee and get back to work with Matt Jansen."
Wow.
Because there's a lot more important things. I mean, this is coming from a guy that's coached several Olympia wins.
Of course.
And he told me, straight up, he's like, "There's a lot more things to this than titles and trophies. It's about doing it and loving it and doing it your way."
Wow.
And like, to have the guy that was like helping you tell you that is like one of the biggest eye-opening things I've ever had, ever. And so, like, I'm very thankful to Chad for that honesty, and obviously very thankful to Matt for his forgiveness. And then one more thing is, one of the things, like, I really could have done better in the beginning. Like Matt said, like, he took it like soft on me, but that's also because, like, sometimes, like, I'd get frustrated, and like, I swear to God, I'd fight him like every step of the way. So it's like, one of the things that I've learned is, like, you just gotta kind of quit being such a control freak and like let the guy do what he's here to do,
right.
Which is help. That's really his only goal, when it comes to helping me and our coach client relationship, coach athlete relationship is, his main purpose here is to help me in any way he can. And me being just the stubborn, paranoid shit I am, couldn't see it sometimes, but like, looking back, it's just, things are just much different. Like, not to, sound all weird about it, but it's like, when you lose somebody that you were real close with for a brief period of time in your life, you didn't realize how much that person did for you, So.
Well, to me, it's said that everything happens for a reason. It sounds to me like this whole thing happened and brought you guys back together stronger than ever. Yeah. And it's actually a positive thing that you guys went through this, because now you're several steps ahead of where you were before, and you could just take on the world.
That's right.
Now everybody's fucked.
Well, I'm really glad you guys told all the story, especially about Chad telling you to go back. That says a lot about Chad, I gotta say. But Matt, do you remember when we first texted and I told you, listen, I don't know why Dallas did it, but all I can say is that he's young. He's young, and sometimes when we're young, we do things that don't make any sense. We think it does at the time. And so I'm really glad Dallas actually did say that. I'm only 25, and I made a mistake. And
you gotta like, it's really easy for people to look at like me and the decisions I make and like the choices that I've made and to be really judgmental. But I mean, in all fairness, like, from the time I was 21, I've been doing this, and I've been doing it like with everything I got. Yeah. And like this is like the only life I've ever really known, as far as like a professional working life. So like, I fight with everything I got to keep it. So, people can say what they want, but at the end of the day, I don't know anybody that's really been through the situational shit that I've been through and been in these positions. So, it's obviously a bit confusing at times.